gamers! Today I'm going to tell you about my first experiences with the HORI Tactical Assault Commander F14 Final Fantasy XIV Black Edition. What a mouthful. This was first announced back in January of this year, I believe, but pre-orders were just fulfilled last week while I was inconveniently on vacation. But now that I've returned and been able to try it out, I definitely have some thoughts. So did it live up to expectations? I'm Debbie, and here it is. First off, if this is your first introduction to the Tactical Assault Commander, this is the US site for it, link in the description below, #not sponsored. It works for PS4, PS5, and PC, though so far I've only used it with my PC. It is $139 US, which is actually less expensive than I thought it would be when I first heard about it, and originally felt it was a good deal. The website proudly proclaims that you can assign in-game functions to 21 keys, save up to 8 profiles, and adjust the position of the analog stick for comfort and ergonomics. It has its own application that you can use to configure the analog stick, save and load profiles, and turn on and off the backlight function. The keypad isn't mechanical, so I kinda miss the satisfying clack, but remember, I'm exclusively a controller player. In the 10 years that I've played Final Fantasy XIV, I've used the keyboard and mouse for maybe 3 hours. Total. Don't get me wrong, I've thought many times about switching and even wanted to, but there were a few roadblocks for me. The first was giving up that buttery smooth analog movement. I was spoiled by the controller, and no matter how often I tried to WASD my way around Eorzea, it just never felt the same. The second being carpal tunnel. In both wrists, because #gamer. So despite wanting to move to a keyboard mouse playstyle for the numerous additional hotbar configuration options and ease of clickability, I just couldn't make the switch. But looking at this thing, browsing the site, and seeing the potential as using this as a hybrid option somewhere between keyboard and mouse and controller, I decided I had to pre-order it and give it a chance. It is default set up like this, with your Tab, Control, Alt, and Shift on the left, and your C, B, and Z keys on the side. Space down at the bottom, and your numerical keys in the middle. The analog is auto-set to control movement, but if you wanted to, you could change that to serve whatever analog function you want, along with changing the dead zone. With the function button, you can program each key again to essentially double the amount of binds you can have. Paired with something super special, like the Corsair Scimitar or Reza Naga gaming mouses, not sponsored, you have 2 full controllers worth of buttons literally at your fingertips. So now that I've made it sound too good to be true, is it? Here's the pros and cons as I experienced them. Cons. 1. Shipping to Canada was pricey. On top of the currency conversion and taxes, customs also ripped it open and charged me another $50 of duty fees. Obviously, this isn't the fault of HORI, but just throwing it out there in case anyone outside of the US is interested in one. Keep in mind that the sticker price may not be your final cost. 2. Though it was practically ready to use out of the box, if you want to make the most of it, you have to download their software. Where to find it was not included in the instructional information that I could see, so I had to do a quick Google search. You had to go to its listing on the HORI site, click here, and then click on Update to update the firmware in the device, and then download the companion app. In order to update the device, you have to, now unless Google Translate was lying to me, press 1 and 2 at the same time as you plug the USB into your computer? I don't know, I just followed the directions and everything worked out. Japanese is the primary language of the app, though it is easy enough to switch it over to English. Another con is if you are switching from gamepad mode to keyboard and mouse mode in-game, you will have to redo all your hotbars. Sorry, there's no real way around it. I spent a couple of hours doing it last night, but it was mostly an enjoyable experience, trying to find places to put things so I could jump into Dawntrail as conveniently as possible. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I could fit on my screen. And the last con really is this here. I don't know what part of it could potentially cause me reproductive harm. I tried to look it up, but the whole site seems very general and not at all specific to this piece of technology, so I gave up. I guess if having a bunch of screaming kids around is important to you, do your research? The pros. Well, Number 1 is absolutely this button here, right here. Literally attached to the analog stick is the num 0 button, if you want. Or you can configure it to something else, but it was super convenient. Honestly, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 just for that. It was such a time saver. I always bragged that I could click on NPCs and navigate menus faster on a controller than anyone could on a keyboard, but this changed my mind. Second, my first stream with it, I was able to do roulettes, including 90s dungeons, with little difficulty. If chat didn't already know I was not using my controller, they probably wouldn't have guessed, which is huge. Switching from keyboard to mouse from a controller is not easy, but the tactical commander made it so intuitive. By 2 hours in, I was starting to really enjoy the versatility of using it over a controller. Not having to rest my controller precariously on my lap to type, or to gesture wildly with my hands, was nice. And having constant access to the mouse for clicking hotbars of emotes or menus was really convenient. Honestly, I thought it was a good value before I tried it, but now I'm thinking that this could just be the Final Fantasy XIV miracle I've been waiting for, and just in time for next month's Dawn Trail launch. Obviously, I'm going to keep getting in my practice on it, but for the intent of this video, I highly recommend giving it a try. If you have the money and are a controller player looking for that controller experience in a keyboard and mouse setup. Has anyone else given it a try? Or do you have any questions that I didn't cover? Let me know in the comments below. Shout out to my patrons, members, and coffee supporters who practically gifted me this thing. It is the best present ever. Thank you so much for watching, gamers, and I'll see you in game.